Hello, my name is Yishi Liu, and this is my YouTube video for technology in the global arena. The topic I will be talking about tonight will be the live streaming of events online. In other words, streaming an event on the internet while that event is currently happening. To narrow the topic even further, the specific events we're going to be talking about are going to be limited to licensed things like TV shows and sporting events. In other words, we won't be talking about websites such as Justin TV or Twitch TV because those websites are more catered to the streaming of personal events. So what websites will we be talking about then? I've limited the category to 3 specific websites: First Row Sports, VIP Box, and surfthechannel.com. In the case of First Row Sports and VIP Box, they both function very similarly. You go to the webpage, and then you pick a very specific sport, say football or basketball, and it will give you a list of links of events that are going on during that day. All of these events have timestamps on them, so you will know exactly when you need to start watching. And each specific event has multiple links to different providers of the stream of that event. Surf the Channel is a little bit different. They don't only provide links to live events. They also have links to episodes of TV shows that have aired in the past. So basically, you can go on there and search for any specific TV show and any specific episode and find links to videos that are posted online of that episode. So the ethical actors in this scenario we have here would be the people providing the links for these licensed events. So of course, the action being tested here would be providing that link to people who aren't paying for that licensed event. The ethical standard that we're going to use to test this specific action will be the one devised by our class. In other words, the action will be deemed unethical if it harms any person or persons. So if we can't establish that the action harms anyone, then we would deem the action ethically neutral or possibly ethical. Now that we have a clear baseline established, we can begin to analyze the actual ethicality of the action. I plan on tackling the ethical analysis in this manner. First, I will begin by arguing the side that the action is ethical. Then I will move over to the other side and argue why it's unethical. Finally, I will conclude with some of my own thoughts and opinions on the matter. So then let's talk about why live streaming can be viewed as an ethical action. To begin with, not everyone viewing that live stream can obtain a legitimate way to view that event. For example, let's say I live in an Eastern European country somewhere out in Latvia, and I want to watch an NBA game. Well, I doubt that the NBA provides a service for people all the way out there. So if the proprietor of the event, i.e. the NBA, provides no avenue for this person to legitimately get their service, then how can it be viewed as a detriment to the NBA if this person is viewing the game? I would argue that in this situation, there's a net positive because this person gets to view something that they enjoy without directly harming anybody. My second argument would be structured very similarly to the first. There's a certain subset of people who wouldn't pay for the service regardless of whether or not the live stream was available. In other words, these are people that are, kinda interested in the event, but they don't really care enough to pay for it. So I argue, how can these people be counted as a detriment to the company providing the service if they were never intending on paying for the service anyway? So if this subset of people had no intention of paying for the product regardless of the circumstances, how can it be counted as a lost profit? If the company hasn't lost any profit, then how can it be viewed as harm for the company? I would say at worst, this would be an ethically neutral action. To continue with the topic of fence-sitters, that brings me to my third point. Live streaming can actually be seen as an avenue for people to try out a product without actually having to invest in it to begin with. So I'll give you 2 examples. Let's start with an example of a kid whose friends are really into football. He's never really dealt with the sport before in his life, but he thought, hey, might as well give it a chance. He doesn't really want to pay for a service, but he wants to watch some games. Assuming that he's tech savvy, he could just go online and find a live stream of any football game. After watching a few, maybe he decides he really does like football, and he goes out and orders NFL season ticket. So in the end, live streams actually created a customer for the NFL that didn't exist before. In a similar vein, maybe we have a girl who's heard a lot about Game of Thrones. She doesn't really feel like it's within her budget to order HBO and the season's already over, but she wants to watch some episodes. She goes online and finds the episodes and she falls in love with them. She then goes out and buys the box set of DVDs for all 3 seasons. Once again, the streaming of content online has created another customer. In both of these examples, I think we can agree that it was a benefit to these companies and not harmful. Therefore, I would say that action could be viewed as ethical. Now let's talk about why this action can be viewed as unethical. The first reason is pretty obvious. There are a ton of people out there who are watching these free streams without actually paying for anything. The problem with that is the cable companies and the provider of the sports event or TV show have invested a lot of money into this product. If people aren't paying them for it, then it's pretty obvious that they've been harmed by the fact that they're not getting paid for something that they worked really hard on. And since the case of harm is pretty easily established there, it's pretty obvious based on our standards that this action is unethical. Here's another example of why this action can be viewed as unethical. At any time, there could be tons and tons of people watching a live stream. Even making the assumption that these are people who wouldn't be able to pay for the service to begin with, which is incredibly unlikely, all of these viewers aren't being counted towards the ratings of the show. In other words, the true popularity of a show can be hidden by online streams. In a medium in which ratings mean everything, if we can't accurately put a number on viewership, then the show is directly being harmed by the live streams. As such, we can only view the action as unethical in this case. My final reason for why this is unethical deals with contracts. Now, I had forgotten to mention this previously, but in class we also established that if 2 parties create a contract, the party that's in breach of that contract shall be viewed as unethical. So the person who provides these live streams most likely signed a contract that explicitly forbids them from distributing that product. So the very act of live streaming is distribution. In other words, they very clearly breached the contract. And since they've breached the contract, well, the action has to be unethical based on our rules. So what's my own personal opinion on the matter then? I feel that the evidence on the side of the action being unethical is stronger than the evidence on the side of it being ethically neutral or ethical. The arguments for the unethical side are straightforward, and their conclusions are extremely easily reached. On the other hand, the arguments for the ethical side have to make a lot of assumptions about the people watching the live streams. So based on that alone, I would have to say that the action is unethical. That isn't to say I'm against live streams, but based on the criteria we established in class, the only conclusion we could really come to is that the action is unethical. Now, I know this video has been really dry, but it's taken me about 500 takes just to get this much down. So, I want to thank you for bearing with me until the end here. I wish you all the best of luck in all of your classes, and thanks for watching.